Oh, man. Those are awful long minutes. Is it really November or just, oh, November 1? Okay.
Summer agenda.
Yeah.
What's that? That's an overflow. This is Turner Lake. Yeah. And the overflow is way over in the corner. This is the water zone into Turner Lake. I know we do about the water and that come down. That's what's splitting. We was all there. Okay. Hey, Wiley. Steve, nice to meet you, Wiley. Yeah. I'm bummed I missed that. I don't know what that was, October, November.
Well, yeah, that was like the first week.
It was, and I, for whatever reason, had another meeting that day, and, but I didn't realize it. Oh. Oh, months until we met again. Yeah. I guess, or whatever.
Wherever you.
Come sit here, Rick.
That's great. Is it else hot there? It's been warm again.
Accommodate everybody. That too.
Well, he's got the Helene chair.
What?
That's the Helene chair, but she's no longer with us, so. No, it's, yeah, you can decide if that's good or bad.
Make.
Password. For who? Waiting for me. Right.
I think there's a pattern here. You wear the Yale hat when it's raining and the Harvard hat when it's sunny.
I had trouble with it.
I think so. Yeah.
Well flooded out there, huh? Pretty well flooded out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looked like it was drying out and then came right back.
Everything
Came
from
right
the
back.
nines came back down to this. And it's coming again at, 9 or 10 tonight, it's going back at 90%.
So,
By how much? Very
What's that?
deleterious. How much?
Doesn't say, it said 90%.
So when it said 90%, to me, that's 90% of the area is gonna get rain.
That's what that means.
Well, yeah, I mean, depends on how much it's coming out. Whether it's flash flood. Style.
They extended the flood watch to 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
So on Via Montserrat, we've had 7 inches in 7 days.
Can everyone please turn on their mics? We've got Julie online as well.
Yep.
Sorry, Julie.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Thank you.
Julie. Oh,
Thank you for allowing me to be a guest to represent the board.
one minute, 1 minute.
Thank you.
We're all gened up around here.
Yeah,
Steve, me, Chad.
I got the memo.
Wearing jeans, you got
No.
khakis on, jeans,
No,
no britches,
I got real britches.
Robert?
Jeans.
Jeans, good,
I got dress pants on.
huh?
Dress pants.
No britches,
Real
okay,
britches.
real britches,
Same thing,
real britches?
real britches.
All right.
You didn't ask Julie.
Didn't hear, no?
You didn't ask Julie. Julie.
Julie, you wearing jeans or real britches?
I'll wear jeans.
Okay, all right,
I'll be part of the team.
all right. Okay, well, it's 3:30, so I think that means it's time to spool this thing up. So call the meeting to order, and as always, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Clint Nelson here. Steve McKesson,
I'm here.
Bob Marnett.
Present.
Okay, and I guess we are fully loaded. Okay,
Is that enough for a quorum?
what?
Do we have enough for a quorum?
Well, since Mig has resigned from the board and therefore is not officially on the committee,
Okay.
I think we are the committee and that's it. And
But I'm just visiting as a interested ratepayer.
there's Mig. All right, good, good. Hopefully Mig will be back with us. That's my hope. Okay. Item number 4, instructions to allow public comment. Do we have members of the public here with us?
Yes, sir, we do.
We do?
We have a member of the public.
Okay. All right, then I need to read this thing here. If at any point anyone would like to ask a question or make a comment and have joined this meeting with their computer, they can click on the raise hand button located at the bottom of the screen. We will be alerted they would like to speak. When called upon, please unmute the microphone and ask the question or make comments in no more than 3 minutes. Those who have joined by dialing a number on their telephone will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and then *9 to alert us they would like to speak. A slight pause will also be offered at the conclusion of each agenda item discussion to allow public members an opportunity to make comments or ask questions. Item 5, seating of alternates. Well, we technically don't have an alternate right now, although I think one may be in order. Item 6, additions, deletions, amendments to the agenda. As always, we'll start with the staff. You guys have anything you want to change?
No additions to the agenda.
None? Nothing? Okay. Committee members, you have any additions or changes to the agenda?
I do not.
Item 7, public comment relating to items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to make any comments?
We have no one with a raised hand.
None? Any written communications? None? No written communications? All right. All right. Item 8, approval of minutes. All of you received the minutes of the November 1st meeting. And are there any changes or corrections to the minutes?
No.
If not, I'm looking for a motion.
A motion to approve the minutes.
Bob moves,
I'll second.
Steve seconds, and since we are all present, we can do this by acclamation. Is that right, Therese? Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Aye. Okay. Item 9, general manager comments. Jake.
Well, it's nice to finally meet the entire committee. So yeah, Bob and Steve, pleasure to meet you. I also want to introduce Rick Aragon, who's a new member of our staff. In the there in December, Miss Largent, our former finance manager, took a new position down at the Port of San Diego. And so we were fortunate enough to recruit and hire Rick. Rick started just a few weeks ago, January 22nd. But long time executive finance manager, lots of water district experience, and so really happy to have Rick on board as part of the team. Wanted to update you on a few things, especially relevant just to this committee, engineering operations. Also back in December, you probably heard on the news that the PFAS settlements. So there was a couple of lawsuits. One was DuPont. DuPont was the main player. The other one was 3M, and they both reached a settlement agreement valued in the billions, right? Well, I think it was 1.1 billion for the DuPont settlement and 12.5 billion for the 3M settlement. It was kind of an interesting agreement in that they kind of set up this formula for how those payouts would occur. So if you're an agency that's been affected by PFAS, let's say you have a well or something that's affected by PFAS, and it was based on your flow rates and the concentration the impact concentration. There was a bit, and it was just an example formula, I believe, right now, but it was a formula that determined, okay, you're going to get, $1 million, you're going to get $5 million. I think across the industry, it was pretty clear that it was going to fall short of actually covering the costs to clean up everything that needs to be cleaned up. So I know, lots of agencies aren't thrilled with it. But I know a lot of agencies are opting into that settlement agreement because it potentially is the only time you're going to have availability of those funds. But it was kind of left up to agency by agency whether to opt in or opt out of the settlement agreement. If you opt out, I guess you retain your rights in the future to go after, if you've got a future issue that you don't know about, you could actually go after one of those firms. We have no PFAS hits. There's been none detected, on the import stream. We're 100% imported water. So on our side, it just made sense to opt out because we're not going to get payment from the formula. Just doesn't work for us. So we did do that in December just to kind of hold our rights. We opted out of the two PFAS settlements. Whether it ever impacts us, who knows? But again, it just kind of holds our rights. So we did take that action through our legal counsel back in December to opt out of those two agreements. So just so you know, it's just been something that's all over the news and a lot of people are dealing with it.
For the benefit of someone who is obviously ignorant, what is PFAS?
Well, they call them the forever chemicals. So it's a chemical that was used primarily in, lots of different industries, textile industries. So, making shirts and things like that, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. So that, these are a lot of the sites we're seeing pop heavy for PFAS too, is where you've had, military installations and places like that where there's been, where they do testing with firefighting foam and those kind of things. But it really is kind of everywhere. They had a mandated testing through the EPA starting last year. It was a whole round of testing that water districts had to do. It's called UCMR5. It was a UCMR5 mandate. I think it was like 29 different PFAS chemicals that, and that testing is actually still ongoing, but and they're starting to publish that data now in where all this stuff is popping, and the testing has become much more sensitive. So you can test now to much lower levels, down to parts per trillion, 4 parts per trillion kind of levels, which is tiny, right? And so when they started to publish that data, there's actually a map available of all the different sources that have hit, and you can see throughout California. I mean, Orange County is heavily impacted, and they have a huge groundwater operation. But even folks just north of us, hits there too. So very widespread. There are some removal technologies that are available. Carbon, GAC, granular activated carbon, seems to be one of the preferred methods. Ion exchange, another method, but that contains a waste stream, so has some problems of its own. But again, not cheap solutions. These are fairly expensive solutions that these districts are having to implement to keep their sources online, keep their local sources online. So,
And those would be forever solutions, right? You'd have to fund them for.
well, and until you don't have it anymore, I guess. Yeah, it's but in essence, yes. So still ongoing. I don't believe they've set the final MCLs on these PFAS chemicals yet. But that was the proposal was somewhere in that range. It was like a 4 parts per trillion, which is very, very low levels. Agencies would have a few years to comply. You're gonna have a few years to be able to get treatment in place to comply with those. But there's a lot of reporting requirements too that are driving. A lot of these agencies are taking things offline because, well, just to be frank, reporting that you're producing water from something that's contaminated, or it's got, even if it's low levels of PFAS, not super popular with the public. So you're seeing a lot of that, really a lot of local sources impacted. But anyways, that was the action we took. Yeah, the story is ongoing, and we'll keep you posted on anything that comes out of that. But that's kind of where it sits today. Update you on the County Water Authority, kind of the settlement terms that are continuing. I believe, I hope everybody got the agreement. We sent that out. Was that right at the first of the year, right about New Year's, and wanted to get that in the committee members and board members' hands to take a look at. Obviously, it's all public documentation now that everything's signed and sealed, but there are some activities that have to occur as part of that. 2 main ones for us, obviously the construction of our southern pump stations, and which is off and running. We actually awarded that contract in December. I hope I'm not stealing Chad's thunder too much here, but awarded that contract in December, filed all the environmental documents, and actually issued notice to proceed today on that contract. So we had a pre-construction meeting last week to get every submittals and get all those things rolling, but actually issued notice to proceed today. It's a 180-day contract, 180 working days. So that takes you October, sometime into October. We did incentivize the contract for early finish. So we put in a clause that, basically for each day those pump stations come online early, the contractor's actually incentivized. It's very valuable to us. And so there's up to 2 months. We put a cap on the incentive, but up to 2 months. So could pull it back a little bit from there. So that's really our critical path item. But in parallel, we're working with the County Water Authority staff. So their general manager, director of operations, and some of their key operations staff on an operations plan is what they're calling it. And it was defined in that settlement agreement. And really, it's just working out the details on these facilities, right? These facilities have to transfer hands from County Water Authority to Rainbow. There has to be arrangements made through Eastern as far as both, operations and billing and how those things work. So getting into a lot of the technical details on those things. It's actually gone really well. We have basically an approved plan. We're going to see a draft for Rainbow at the end of February. The way we've done it is kind of separated into the 2 separate sides. So we have the second aqueduct, which is kind of on this side of the district, the west sof, and then the first aqueduct, which is over on the east side. We have 2 connections on each of those aqueducts that off of the Met pipelines. And so they operate very differently. And so we kind of segregated the one. Hey, we're going to work on this aqueduct number 2. It was actually the more straightforward one. Aqueduct 1 is a little more challenging operationally. And so we're working on that with them right now. So I think I had mentioned, I thought, first, second quarter of this year, we would be pretty well along with those operations plans. I think that still holds pretty well true. We're getting through it pretty good. And it's been very cooperative, especially after the first of the year. It just really seems like the mood and the tone has been good between the two staffs and just working on solutions. They've got some issues. We don't agree on everything, but we're kind of working through those things. And I don't see any unmanageable hurdles going forward on that. It looks like everything is pretty manageable, and so we should be getting through that. So that's been really good. Wanted to just give you an update on our board seat, our open board seat. As you, I'm sure you've heard, MIG changes residence, unfortunately, and had to step off the board. Had a really great showing for candidates for Division 3 board member. We actually had 12 people from that division submit letters of interest and resumes and such. And we conducted interviews in open session at the last board meeting. We had 7 of the 12 that showed up for the interviews. The board narrowed it down to 2 final candidates. One of them is Carrie Dale, former Water Utilities Director from the City of Oceanside, who is a longtime Fallbrook resident and lives in Division 3. And Lisa Herman, who longtime board member at Rancho California Water District, who several years ago, probably 5 years ago or so, moved to Fallbrook. She actually gave up her seat there, after like 20 plus years. I think she was on the board up there. But both very highly qualified. And so the board decided to move those 2 candidates on, dig a little bit deeper in February and make an appointment. So they had the time available to do that. That also pushed some of the appointments. As you know, MIG was a member of this committee. And so those appointments will occur once the board member is seated. That's on the agenda as well. But not just that's one of the key ones, but also MIG was the vice president of the board and various organizations and things that he was the representative for, Aqua and others. So anyways, kind of shuffling the deck a little bit on the committee appointments and that, but we expect that'll all be done at the February board meeting. So that's been a pretty good process. Last thing I wanted to update you on, and this is something we've kind of been grinding on now, especially, since Rick came on board and dealing with, starting talks on the 5-year CIP and the upcoming budget season. We are going to look at doing some joint committee and board workshops in the coming months, starting in March. So we're just starting to schedule those things. We're, working with the board members right now to make sure we can get those folks together. But the idea is kind of in March to focus on the 5-year CIP, kind of set the groundwork for, the budget to come after that. And so we would combine E&O, budget and finance, and the board, and bring the board in for that workshop in March. So just to kind of give you a heads up, that's kind of what we're looking at. It's going to be very interesting this year. A lot of changes, pending the timing of when we actually finalize detachment. Obviously that has impacts to our budget. And exit fee payments and everything that came along with that settlement agreement and the detachment. We're gonna, we're having to deal with those things and a little bit more clarity on the timing of those things. So really over the next 3 months, just really important stuff we're going to be talking about as far as how we handle all of that, right? Savings and costs and CIP needs and reserve targets and, you know, all these things we have to, and we're going to thank Rick in advance for all the work he's going to do over the next few months. But anyway, so that's kind of the plan. And we're thinking March, April, and May. We're actually going to do workshops. Not sure you know, that we need to, if we need to have an E&O meeting in those subsequent months, April, May, outside of that, you know, we could probably accommodate that. Just this first one in March, we thought we were going to focus on more E&O stuff, so that it'd be nice just to bring everybody together for that. We were looking at doing it kind of the same day as the board meeting. So, you know, doing it on a Tuesday. So we're looking at either like the 12th or the 19th of next month to really kind of dig in deep on the 5-year CIP and start doing those things. So there was that. Have you guys heard enough?
Doing great. You just keep going.
I'm going to update you. You know, it's fun to talk about water. Well, it's not fun to talk about water supply when there's drought going on. It's interesting to talk about water supply when drought's going on, right? Becomes a hot topic. I like it all the time just because I'm a water geek like that. But these recent storms have been really, really good for water supply picture, both in our, you know, California and then also in Colorado as well, which, you know, two main sources. I was just looking today to see kind of where we sat, and slow start to the season. It was actually a very dry December and even some of January. But we're back up to about 75% of normal for this date, up in the Sierras, and which is about 50% of the April average, which is kind of what they're always kind of taking a look at. Even a little better on the Colorado side. We're about 90% of normal on the Colorado side. So a little under average, but about 61% of the April average. And that on top of what happened last year, right? All the reservoirs are still way above average. Diamond Valley is I think just about teeming full, 93% full. I think you're going to see, you know, the State Water Project allocation is going to rise. They set it at 10% initially, but that's going to go up. So I guess it's just good news. There's plenty of water there. Here's the bad news. Met hasn't been selling a lot of water. So, you know, just like our demands are down, it's really down across the entire Southern California region. And so Rick was good enough to share with me. He got his hands on really their first publishing of their biennial budget. And so, and I shared with this with our board of directors as well. But they're looking at some pretty significant increases, right? They do a 2-year budget. Next cycle is January 1st, 2025, January 1st, 2026. And this initial proposal was a 13% increase on January 1st, 2025, and another 8% in 2026. So the last time this came around, they started with about an 8% and it ended up at 5%. We're a little less optimistic that there's going to be significant movement in this one, just because they are in a pretty don't call it dire, but they've used reserves over the last few years to kind of prop their budget up as demands kind of fell below forecast, and so they're going to have a hard time not implementing a significant rate increase to up those kind of the critical reserve levels. So it's just really another wrench that's thrown into our budget discussions coming up with a pending increase like that coming from the major water wholesaler on January 1st. We've just kind of complicates things even a little bit further, but that's what we're going to talk about. So I think I'm going to leave it right there. That's enough for today.
Can I ask a question?
You may.
Okay.
Or
assuming, yeah, whoever gives me authority to do that.
Yeah.
Assuming that there's a net increase in what Met is going to charge, how would that impact us once we're with Eastern? Okay. How will that what kind of an adjustment will that cause to what the cost is? Is it straight across 13%? So just 1.13 times what the Met charge was plus the $11?
Yeah, great question. No, the 13% it's really a blended rate increase. So they have multiple tiers and, treated water, raw water, which all varies a little bit. We buy treated, and actually the increase on the treated side is a little bit worse than 13%. So it actually impact us a little greater. The switch to the delta between, the switch to Eastern and or the County Water Authority, not sure at this point, but in essence, that rate increase is going to come direct on our wholesale costs, regardless. It's going to be passed through as, on the import cost. So it certainly will impact. Outside of that, it really doesn't. That doesn't impact that admin charge, doesn't impact anything else. But Met changing that tier 1 rate, it just does. It increases the cost of that purchased water.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I'm kind of a Keynesian economist,
Okay,
and
I'm not sure I know what that means, but
Well-
okay.
What I'm wondering is, since we know that we are living in a period of fairly continuous declines in water consumption, and I realize we are one little agency and Met is this huge thing, is everyone comfortable that Met has done what they need to do to reduce their costs, whether they are hard costs, variable costs? Because this could go on forever if they take no action to reduce the cost of delivering the service. That could be reductions of manpower. It could, whatever it is, but
Mhm.
it just seems to me that when demand is falling, supply needs to adjust, and demand and supply price, that should all somehow work like
Yeah.
an economic machine. That's what I'm thinking. Am I nuts? Yep.
No. And feel free to chime in too, Rick, because Rick knows it's like the back of his hand. That was a lot of the discussion the last time around. When they proposed the 8% increases, they were looking at significant staff increases. They were looking to fill, I don't remember what it was, 150 positions or something like that had been either left unfilled or new positions. This time around, if you go through their budget document, they've really stripped a lot of that away already, because that's where everybody kind of hit them on the last one, right? How about this? How about that? Reduce this, reduce that. And that's, kind of how they cut it down. But the reality is, Met charges volumetrically. And that's been tough for them, as their toughest for them, because as their demand increases, their fixed costs stay, right? Their fixed costs really stay. I can't say really if there's, can they cut additional staff? But I know they're way down in their staffing numbers, right? They did leave a lot of positions unfilled and things like that. That'll probably be a lot of the discussion that goes on over the next, 3-4 months as they kind of move this through with their member agencies and their board. There'll be a lot of questions that they'll have to answer as far as that goes. Other sources of revenue, things you can do to cut expenses and that kind of thing. But it really has been on the decline for them. And they do have a process going right now where they're trying to, they're looking at their future supplies. And so that might come under a lot of pressure, these Delta conveyance, that's not baked into these rate increases. The projects are not baked in, apparently. So that'll probably come under a lot of pressure. And yeah, and they're looking at the way the rate structure is even put together, right? That's part of this whole the camp process that they're going through. They're looking at their projects, they're looking at their rate structure, so you might see some pretty dramatic changes over the next couple of years, even in that, right? Moving more towards I would assume moving more towards what a lot of us have done, right? Putting your costs on the fixed side, so you can recover. I know I'm going to pump. I know I've got, minimum staffing levels I have to fund. I know I've got, these things you've got to fund. And then this variable side that, if water sales are up or down, it doesn't impact my core business. And we've all struggled with that, but they just couldn't move. They can't move off their rate structure. They've tried before and it's been tough. So I think that's probably another thing that's
It
coming.
just seems to me like we're in a catch-22 because if demand is decreasing, then the price is going to go up. On the other hand, if supply does not meet demand, in other words, drought, price goes up. I can't see I'm not seeing any obvious scenario where price goes down because it looks like the game is rigged that no matter what happens, the price is going to go up.
Yeah, I mean, if costs continue to go up, I mean, it's going to continue to go up. I think I think that's true. And I think they've done everything they can to try to hold it off as long as they could, right? They've brought their reserves down to critical minimums. But they're kind of at that point now where, they've decreased rates in the past and now it's just come to a head. And even their forecast, right? Their best forecast, it just keeps kind of dropping underneath those. Obviously, we had a very wet year, so that probably had an impact too. Is that really reflective of a normal year? I don't know. That's a question. We're dealing with the same thing, right? Our sales so far this year was in December, we're like 6,800 acre feet. So really slow start to the year, right? I think things were still wet. And so if you look at years past, those summer months, we were well down on our sales. November and December was actually better than last year. So a little bit drier. And so we actually caught a little bit on sales from last year, so it's a little bit of a guessing game if, have we hit the floor or not? Or is there more room to go down? But it's definitely it's a tough situation. Same infrastructure, I mean, there are some cost savings. You're pumping less. For us, we're not buying as much water. There's savings there, but some of those costs are, they're just baked in, and it's no different for them. And so everybody's struggling with that.
Any comments or questions for Jake? Okay, let's go on to item number 10. Engineering CIP Program Manager comments. That'd be you, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, Jake stole all my thunder.
What?
Sorry.
Just joking. No, so we are at today's committee, we prepared an update to the capital improvement projects that I think last gave this committee, I think it was like July of 23 about. So there'll be an update on that. Projects completed, projects underway. It does not include the mid-year forecasted and proposed adjustments because that hasn't been taken to the board yet. So the last time we did it, that was already done. So that was in there. So it's a little different, but as we always do, questions as we go. And then as Jake alluded to, staff is excited to be working on the 5-year plan because for the long time, it's kind of been stripped to focus on just a single project here or there. The county projects that have been coming through have been tying up money, but we have a good working relationship with them. So that's all being forecasted now. So I think in the coming months between now and it'll be the 24-25 fiscal budget. We're excited. We're back to Reich software and forecasting and be excited to present to this committee for them. But for now, I'll just defer to the presentation.
Comments, questions? Okay. Item 11, Operations Manager comments. Robert?
It's
Kind of wet out there.
wet. The rains always play havoc on our wastewater system. That's from infiltration and intrusion of groundwater and rainwater from the surface. So the rain we had, it was last week, was like the first atmospheric river. That's where we started transporting sewage into Oceanside and dumping it in manholes. Kind of a normal routine with these last.
A little
couple
closer
years.
to your mic.
Kind of a normal routine these last couple of years of doing this from lift station 2. So we bring in 2 rain for rent tanks, we pump out of the wet wells into those tanks, and then tanker trucks pull up to those tanks, extract that and transport it farther downstream. This week has been pretty rough on staff. We have guys working till midnight usually. So at least 4 people work till midnight, and then we've had a couple nights where they've worked all night.
That's strictly transport.
So we have to have 2 guys on Stallion and North River Road doing traffic control for the guy that's dumping, and make sure that he just doesn't dump it all like one. Like, it's got to be controlled. And then we have 2 guys at the pump station that are manning the pumps as they're pumping there, and all the controls at that sewer lift station. Then you throw in a couple main breaks in there just for extra excitement. That's fun. When was that one we had? Tuesday? Monday? We had a main break on Monday when it was pouring rain, which that's fine. We like it whether it comes from the sky or the ground. We're adaptable. Then on that same day, we actually had one of our system operators going up Olive Hill, and he ran into a tree that had fallen across the road on the car. The occupant was fine. They were out. Fire department showed up. So some of our other guys helped them clear the tree. County road showed up. So it was a whole team effort to get the tree out of the road so we could get our crew up the road to get into Miles Ranch and do the main break repair. So it's these things keep compounding. We're starting to see the soil just can't take any more water. It's just done. So it's running everywhere. So what our normal routine is on the floating covers on the reservoirs, we have pumps to pump the rainwater off. So twice a day, the system operators have to go there and make sure all the pumps are still working. We have other crews that go around and check all the water lines that are in creek crossings and make sure there's no debris stacked up on them. They can still see them, things like that. The meter staff still has to do what they do. They still got to go read meters. They have to deal with customer, new person moving in. They want their water turned on. That's a rain or shine event. So we get really busy on things like this, but what we do it really well. Today we had an issue up on one of our easements off of Rice. We had a person park their dilapidated, what do you call that? Diesel pusher. It was camper or RV, plus a bunch of other junk on the easement, and he started grading the easement with no grading permit. We've been working with them since October. Actually issued him a cease and desist to get your stuff off the easement so we can get up there. Well, today we went up there to take a look, and the rain basically exposed a bunch of our water line. So, and his cease and desist was effective on January 31st. So I went up there with the tow company and the sheriff's department today and told them, now we got to get up there and deal with this. So we're going to be tracking the costs on that, and more than likely sending them his way once we're done and get that easement put back together. But it's just, it's like one thing after another last couple weeks.
We've invested a lot in our manhole covers along our sewer line to make sure that there's no infiltration or whatever. Is all that holding up?
That's holding up. So the manholes that are directly in the path of rivers or creeks, Alamesa Golf Course has quite a few. We have these plastic things called rain covers. So you pull out the lid, you drop this piece of plastic in there, and it captures the rainwater, doesn't let it infiltrate. We also go around and check historically problem areas where people lift open the manholes to drain golf courses, or like the racetrack or the training facility. We've had some issues over there, so we check those. And we also have sensors in some of the manholes that detect increased flows. That'll give us an indication, hey, something's going on over there, because now the flow has jumped up when it's normally at, on the straight and level. So we're tracking it. When Thoroughbred's complete, all this extra work we're doing should not happen again, because the amount of storage we have there, about 300,000 gallons of underground storage, we can divert all that extra sewage there and hold it a little bit longer. Right now, it just freight trains down to Old River and Little Gopher. It just hits there. Bam. The pumps at the station have the capacity, but the line on North River Road doesn't have the capacity to get it out. So with Thoroughbred, we'll be able to hold it. So next winter,
the way things go around here, it'll probably be a dry winter. But
Have the storage and not need it.
yeah, exactly. But the guys are fantastic. The guys always have a positive attitude and they're always ready to help. So it's working out pretty good. Just a drain on everybody. And I'll probably do another update tomorrow to the board of committee members of what we've got going on. But yeah,
Those updates are just really helpful to understand, to get a pulse on things.
some weeks I send them and you look at it and you're like, yeah, it's like the same crap they did last week. And it's some work is routine. Like the sewer guys have to go to every sewer lift station on Mondays and inspect to see what happened over the weekend, vandalism or whatever. The system operators have to go to the reservoir sites, do the same thing. System operators have to do bacteriological samples every Monday. Like there's routine things that just have to happen. So some weeks are not much action. It's a lot of routine. And then other weeks are like this week where we're just running around like crazy.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah. Do you have any updates on the 750-meter repairs?
I can address
Going?
that.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard about that in a long time.
Yeah, actually, well, we've had quite a few discussions, budget and finance, and then also with the board. This past what was that, last week, 2 weeks ago? We talked about some of the actions that we're taking too. There's kind of a couple things going on. We obviously have been active, and this is, a whole team effort, right? Ahmed kind of crunching the numbers, and Robert and his team kind of taking action on any fixes that that need to take place. And so we did a lot of that at the end of last year. As far as the actual, switching out registers and doing some things like that, we did quite a few. We've continued to kind of crunch the numbers, and not quite as bad as we had initially thought. Some of those, we've seen some maybe potentially slow meters, but still catching some of that revenue and that kind of thing. But obviously we still continue to fix those. As we do, this is kind of the next step, and this is what we talked about last month at Budget and Finance and the board, was as we, make the fix and normal usage. Now we identify for 2-3 months kind of normal usage returns. Our policy allows for us to back bill up to 3 months for basically misreading meters or malfunctioning meters. And so we've just started that process. We wanted to run it by Budget and Finance and the board just so everybody was aware. But we kind of have our first kind of set of those that we're proceeding with back billing some of the customers. We're going to take a couple of actions there too. Obviously, we're going to notify them ahead of time that this is happening. We are going to offer, if they want to spread out the payments over a certain period of time, we're going to offer that as well. So we're trying to kind of ease the burden there, but obviously there was a malfunction there, and we need to take action on that going forward. So that's kind of the immediate steps that we're taking in the near term going forward. And we just kind of started down this path of really taking a hard look at where meter capacity is being exceeded. A 3/4 inch meter, 1 inch meter that's got excessive use, and starting the process, because it's a little more complex as far as how you address that, and there's probably some different options to do so. And we've kind of just started that process about how we want to address that issue, kind of the larger issue that, some of these meters are likely undersized for what they're being used for. Obviously, we provide plenty of pressure in a lot of our service area, and so that gives the opportunity to flow a lot of water through a small meter if you so choose. And so we're going to start to address those things. We did and again, I'm just kind of digging in on all this as well. But we did a capacity study back in 2017 was the last time we did a formal study. But it did define kind of maximum allowable, volumes on each of those size meters So that's, the buy-in to the system is based on X, X number of units per month if you've got a certain size meter. So anyways, we're going to be using all that information over the next few months. It's a hot issue. I'll tell you that. I mean, it's something that it's very high on the list of things we're chasing. So, from a revenue protection standpoint, trying to be equitable, across all of our district service area. And so, yeah, so probably some of the conversations and the feelings are not going to be great by those that are impacted. So it's not a fun thing to tackle, to be, quite frank, but I think it's important for us. We're too small to be losing that kind of revenue and distributing it to others, basically, distributing those costs to others. So anyways, we are working on it, and probably over the next few months we'll have some better kind of concrete actions based on what we are allowed to do in our admin policy and legally speaking, and those kind of things on what we can actually do to kind of enforce those capacities and what kind of funds we can recoup and that. So more to come on that side of it. We really are focused on obviously fixing the immediate problems, but then obviously there is a little bit of a, not a little bit of it. There's an issue we've got to solve, and so we are working on it.
Are you starting to see any increase in revenue from some of the meters that you have replaced with the new?
Absolutely,
digital?
Yes. That's the ones that we've done, and that's where these back billings are coming from. Once we set that thing in place, and now we see a pattern of usage return, that's our evidence that, oh, yep, that thing was malfunctioning. Let's go back, recoup some of that revenue, and and then obviously keeping an eye on it moving forward, that we don't see the same kind of things happen again.
Well, I've been interested in it because it's one of the few things you can do to make money.
Right.
Everything else is always the other direction.
Going out. Right. I hear it.
Oh,
go ahead.
So just real quickly on the meters, when we went down this road, started to do it, we were exchanging just the registers on the meters, and we've depleted that supply that we had in stock. It was just over 600 that we've accomplished so far since we went down this road. Just actually probably been about a year now. We had already placed an order a couple months ago for more inventory, so that's inbound. But I think you had brought it up several meetings ago about having this more of a global approach to this, and that's where we're into now, right? We still have more meters to exchange, but now we're looking at it globally, like recovering costs, upsizing meters, getting into that portion of it. So we're headed in the right direction. The meter staff, they did a really good job, like jumping on these right away. We do have meters in inventory, but we have them, some of them benchmarked for like Bonzo Oaks, that development. So those are meters, they're set aside for them. We don't want to pull them and start exchanging them quite yet. It's just because of the lead times on stuff. When they call and they want meters for their houses, we have to have meters to supply them. We can't say, well, we don't have anything for you. We can't, that doesn't work for a developer. So, but the staff is kicking butt. And I think with this approach that we're looking at now, and there's going to be some policy changes and admin code changes that, we've got to get people on the track of being right sized and put the burden back on them instead of the rest of the ratepayers. Yeah. But we're aware of it, and not bad for a year to get this far, in my opinion. We're doing good. We'll get there.
Got a question? Maybe go back to the rain and impacts. So what has been the impact as far as the waste treatment system and, what inflow through the manhole covers, and how is the big tank that we put in place doing?
Which big tank are you talking about, Mig?
One down there in Bonsall, across from Daniel's Market.
Thoroughbred?
Oh, Thoroughbred. So
Yeah.
that station's not up and running yet. So we still have a couple more months before that's up and running.
So you haven't had any impacts from the rain on construction or anything like that?
Well, you always have impact when it rains like this. The construction sites literally shut down. They were out there doing some work on the bridge. They were hanging brackets on the bridge, which was great to see them doing that because it's not, you can do it in the rain. But as far as trench work that they were doing, laying pipe, that all comes to a screeching halt. So there's going to be a few days of rain delay, and then you've got to let things dry out a little bit before they get back in there. But yeah, it's delayed us a little bit out there.
Okay, did we have rain days included in the project? I thought we did.
Yes. Oh, every project has them in there.
Yeah, good. Okay, thanks.
Well, I just want to say I'm glad to hear all the thought and effort that's going forward with regard to the economics of this. You know, my biggest fear has been that some clever and well-resourced ratepayer is going to file some kind of legal action that claims lack of equity in our billing processes and could cause us a big problem. And I think the fact that we are taking steps, now that we are aware that we're taking steps to deal with the small meter, high usage situation and trying to figure out what recourse we have to get our customers into line and in a more equitable position is important. And I just hope that we don't end up with some kind of a litigation. What was it that Tom and the general manager at FPUD used to say? There's this cottage industry of lawyers that love to mess with stuff like this and rates and billing and all of that. So I think it's great that we're trying to get our nose out in front. That's great. Item 12, committee member comments. Bob, you got anything?
Nope, nothing.
Steve?
Negative.
I'm negative. Item 13, board action updates. As I recall, we really only did one or two things, but go ahead.
Yep. So the board approved a construction management agreement with Valley Construction Management for the pump stations project. With that, staff had a PowerPoint presentation to go along with it, just to provide some background. There was a notice of completion for miscellaneous projects. This was for a single fire hydrant. Normally would have been on the consent calendar, but it was the only item, so it became on the agenda. And then the general manager gave an update on district headquarters and the discussion of resuming the ad hoc committee on that. So that is what we talked about at the January board meeting.
Okay.
Can I interrupt a sec, Chad? I saw a sign across the street. All of a sudden, it's going to be some kind of county.
Sheriff station.
Yeah, that's all. Because we were trying to get in bed with them and that's falling apart still.
That is, unless Jake can resume that is a no-go.
My understanding, we've been in contact with North County Fire, because originally it was my understanding, county sheriff, county fire, and ourselves that were kind of taking a look at that site as a potential joint use facility. And the sheriff kind of came back and said they didn't want to play in the sandbox with anybody else. They needed the whole site. My understanding now is that's still the case. North County Fire is actually, they were possibly going to abandon that Palamesa site that they've got, and that would have been the replacement. They're on track now. They're going to rebuild that Palamesa site, so they're moving full steam ahead on that. My question, I had the same question. Well, everybody's logo is still up there. What's,
It's false flag operation. That's what it is.
Well, kinda. What we heard was the sheriff is still open to potentially allowing them, this is North County Fire, allowing them like a small training, like a tower, they train for apartment buildings and things like that in those towers, potentially allowing that on a, like on a corner of their site or something like that. So the partnership lives.
But not us.
Well, not us. No. No, unfortunately, I think I think that one's a no-go. So
we're still searching for a new site.
well, that was kind of the discussion that we brought to the board, and really driven by we had to make some repairs here. I think you'll see that in Chad's. I'm gonna steal some more thunder from
Go for it.
Chad's
Go for it.
CIP update. What was this, December, January,
Mhm.
when we kind of all came back from Christmas and New Year's and everything. We had multiple roof leaks, in the warehouse, over in the building where the mechanic shop is, and the adjacent building there. And
A new one sprung up in this building as well, but they were already here.
yeah. And so we had to make some emergency repairs. We got a roofer that's going to put in a membrane liner up on those two building roofs. We budgeted about 150,000. Original quote I think was 102, but I think it's going to end up being 120 or so.
It'll be, closer to 150.
Yeah, by the time it's all said and done. And so, it needed to be discussed anyways, but I think that really kind of fed the discussion on, hey, we need to jump back into what are we doing about the headquarters here and kind of the aging condition of the buildings. And so we recapped. That was really it. We recapped kind of where we'd been, these different options that we'd looked at as far as staying here on site and rehabbing or replacing, the development potential, rezoning and trying to, I guess it'd be increasing the value of this property for sale and moving off site. And so, but really where we're at is we do want to kind of reinvigorate that ad hoc committee. So that's going to be on the February board agenda as well to kind of populate that committee. So if anybody's interested, you should let Hayden know, if you're interested in being on that committee. But we really want to start talking about it in a serious way. We have lots of priorities. That was kind of the discussion too. We have a lot of priorities here. Reserves and capital pipeline replacements and capital projects that we need to tackle and exit fee payments that we need to make. And so a lot of competing interests, but it's something at least we need to prioritize from a planning standpoint. So we have something going forward, because it is going to come to a head at some point. I don't think time is on our side on that one. So that was basically the discussion at the board.
You good?
Yeah.
Item 14, appointment of chairperson and vice chairperson. We have to do this on an annual basis. And so I guess the committee, all three of us, need to decide what we want to do. So does anybody got any thoughts?
My thought is to just spin it forward like it is.
What do you think about that, Bob?
That's fine with me. Unless are you just getting too tired of running two committees?
I enjoy the service very much. I am always happy to relinquish the gavel to someone that wants it, but I am happy to continue the way we are, if that's the consensus of the board. I guess we need to vote. Is that right? Okay. So is there a motion?
Yeah, I move that we retain the positions as they are today for another year.
Second?
Second it.
Been moved and seconded that we retain the existing positions, which would be me as the chair and Steve as the vice chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay. May I ask, maybe I should have done this up in the item 6 conversation. The position of alternate. Historically, what we have done is we have asked the head of the companion department to serve as an alternate. So the alternate at our committee historically, in this committee, was Tracy, the head of finance. And historically, the alternate for the Budget and Finance Committee was Chad as head of the Capital Program Engineering. I really like that because there is so much cross fertilization in what these two committees do. And is it out of bounds for me to suggest that we propose and elect an alternate? Is that out of bounds? Am I violating the rules?
I don't think so because I mean it is advisory, right? This is advisory. So I think adding that to this, even though it wasn't specifically
Under
agendized,
the agenda.
Yeah.
Should have said something.
that's okay. I think you're okay if you guys want to make a recommendation, and then we'll take it to the board for a final.
Would you be willing to serve in that capacity?
I'll be here anyways.
Right? Well,
Yes.
good. Good. Okay, so I will move that that the head of our finance department be the alternate for this committee. And I'm looking for a second.
I will second that.
Alright. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Congratulations to all.
So, thank you.
You had your chance to step backwards.
Okay, as needed engineering services,
Did not have any new
there's no,
assignments,
I didn't look. I was a bad boy. I did not look. No yellow lines?
no new assignments.
No yellow lines. Okay. All right. All right, then let's go ahead and move to item number 16, the CIP update presentation. As Chad had mentioned, we received this presentation several months ago. It was very helpful. I think a lot of people enjoyed hearing it. Just to give us an overview of where we stand. And so I would say, Chad, why don't you go ahead and whistle stop us through this thing and,
Okay.
all right?
Meg, he's gonna get that screen completely dialed in the way he likes it. All right, perfect. Yeah, so it's been a while since we did a capital improvement program update for the Engineering and Operations Committee. So just big picture, looking at the fiscal year 23-24 approved budget summary. And again, we had in the previous one, it showed different numbers, but because the board has not taken action on the mid-year adjustment, we did not incorporate any of that data here. So for potable water, you're looking at 3.2 million, wastewater 5 million, then wholesale water efficiency 6 million. Funded and partially funded projects. We're currently at 10 projects in the water. We have the one wastewater project and the one wholesale water efficiency project. And again, that asterisk, this does not include the mid-year adjustments. In doing this, we actually really like to geek out on this stuff and kind of go back through. And so staff pulled together some other numbers going all the way back to fiscal year 21-22 through 24-25, assuming that fiscal budget is approved for this coming July. The district would be spending on capital improvements more than $29 million on projects. So I know it's not a lot of projects, but that is a lot of money being expended for some really important projects. Just on the lift station 1 project, it's a little over 11 million to date right now. That project was originally bid at $16 million and we're almost all the way through on that. And then on the pump stations project, they put together all kinds of different tables, but just on the pump stations itself, $6.7 million for the pump stations. Then the contractor came in at 5.6 million, all the soft costs. So we're doing some really good stuff. It's coming along. So here's an updated map. This is like if you're a person that likes to have a to-do list and you like to check all the things you got to do, we got to delete a lot of the pins because they were all completed projects from the past. So on this, projects not shown with a yellow pin are shown on that right-hand side. Those are district-wide projects. So that's the take maintenance and fall protection projects. The San Luis Rey imported return flow, which is otherwise known as the groundwater project. You have water system monitoring program, and then the corrosion prevention program. And those are all district-wide. As you know, staff is recommending at the mid-year budget update that the monies be reappropriated out that San Luis Rey imported return flow. That project's pretty much done for now. But the projects that are up there, you have the Live Oak Park Bridge project, some of our committee's favorite project. They were given an additional, was it 25 days or
Mhm.
35 days? I think it was 25 days to complete. With the rain, they're obviously delayed from that, but they are on track to finish on time. So Flint, that one is coming to an end, at least for Rainbow's portion.
Believe it when I see it, but I do have a question. I'm from, and that is, and if I'm wading into executive session territory, then stop me. But when that contractor Hazard sought additional time, did that contractor double dip? Did he go to the county and seek additional time for the county and then come and seek additional time from us? I worried about that.
You were
Yeah.
at the table.
No, that was, I mean, we had the same concern when we were dealing with some of the delays and those kind of things. So I actually sat down with the county manager and as well as Hazard. So we all sat in a room and, figured out these days are this, these days are that, and yeah, no overlap
Okay.
on those kind of things.
Because I've seen contractors try to do that in a situation like this where they try to double dip and don't like it.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
No.
It's not ideal, but we were able to work out that portion of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Going up to the top here, you got the McGee Pump Station Emergency Generator Project. And then right below that is the Huntley Gomez Pump Station Emergency Generator Project. Those were the two generators we received via a Cal OES grant. You all just, Robert, you were up there, I think a week ago about doing the startup at McGee.
Yeah.
And so we're rocking and rolling. So those are happening. That's awesome. We have the Rice Canyon Transmission Main. That project is completed. However, we are still working with the developer Tri Point Homes to close the project out. But the pipeline's in, it's flowing water. It's all done. We're just working on some invoicing.
What's holding up the completion?
The project is complete. It's just final billing.
Holding up the closeout.
It's the developer has to have all of its subs or general contractors paid, show canceled checks to us, and then this. And I think they're based off the East Coast somewhere. So
Okay.
just delays on their end. Below that, we have help me out. That says GERD to West Lilac Pipeline. This is the project. There is an existing abandoned in place water line from West Lilac to GERD. It goes under the river, under Highway 76. And we're looking at possibly reinstating that pipeline back into service. We're just kind of throwing that around. So we have a slide on that later. The West Lilac Pump Station. So each of the pump stations are shown at their actual locations, and the Rancho Amigos and then Dentro de Lomas. Those are all being done under one contract. You have lift station number 1 underway, and then you have the Camino del Rey waterline relocation. And when we get to that slide, we'll talk more about that one. So those are the projects that are underway. And I think the next slide is going to show us the completed projects we did. Oh, no. Okay, maybe we got rid of that slide. All right. So here's our 5, and I have these in hard copy if that's too small for the committee to read. It's a lot larger on that screen, but if you want, just take one and pass it around.
Yeah.
Thank you. Robert, did you want one? No.
Looks good here.
Yeah, on the screen, it's nice.
I'm sure it's great. Yeah.
If you're looking, what is that, 108 inch or 98 inch? It's really nice on that one. So here is the 5-year water CIP plan. Again, it's not showing the mid-year on this, but we did steal some of Rick's slides that went to the board in January. And so we'll show those. So here's what was already approved for year 1 and then projected for years 2 through 5. And then the 5-year wastewater CIP plan. And so as we know, we're spending the bulk of those funds right now in the current fiscal year. And so there's no proposed capital improvement in what year two, which we are, as we talked about these workshops coming up. So we'll see how these shift around and then going out into the future years. And so, I'm sorry, can you go back one? So what we're working on right now is we're actually populating this list even more, working with the operations department, Jake coming online, working through some of the old studies that were done and adding to this. So it's all going to be kind of populated, and then we'll go to the finance department and see where it can be populated in which years. Thank you. All right, you have your 5-year wholesale water efficiency. This is probably the biggest change. You can see that the WEIS, we're still using it as a placeholder, but it's been pushed way out. As you'll recall, our board approved that lease agreement with the city of Oceanside, but the city of Oceanside has not taken action on it. So that one's just pushed out. And then you have the bulk of the funds being used for the Hutton Turner Dentro pump stations. Again, if you were at the board meeting or if you're going to attend the next board meeting, their numbers are going to be different, but since it's not approved, we didn't show it that way. The Morrow pump station, again, you can see pushed way out. The Wilt Road feeder pushed way out. And then the Gird Road is done. That was the one where staff went in and did themselves. And we found out that our as-built, unfortunately, the as-builts were not up to date. And so it was already done for us. So this is the one where we've seen the most significant change in projects getting pushed out because that Hutton Turner Dentro, which is now West Lilac Rancho Amigos Dentro, is the main priority requiring the most funding.
And for the 5-year, for the wholesale water efficiency, we borrowed 10.x million. Is that
9.7?
9.7 million?
Correct.
And we're going to be spending 18 and change.
Yeah,
Well, at least we're at about 12.
Well, 14 and change. I'm sorry, 14 and 14.
We're about 12 or 13 just
On
on the
pump
pump stations. Yeah.
correct. Yeah, I have no
So-
problem spending the 9.
So we'll be wanting to figure out where the additional money comes from, right? Because I'm adding 6 plus 4, 10, 4, 14, 4, and we borrowed 9, 7, so we're light, right?
We're light on the debt. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Correct.
All right.
Draining down capital reserves.
Ah, here it is. Okay. We just bumped it around. So here's the ones that we completed in 2023. So we did the Sumac solar project with the antenna. We completed the Rice Canyon transmission main project, the Rainbow Water Quality Improvement Project, and the Rainbow Valley Boulevard Cathodic Protection Project. So all those are done and underway. Some ongoing projects. We did these by division in case the board members wanted to know, what was happening specifically within their division. You can see Division 1, Camino del Rey. The county is still working through their design, and both agency staff are coordinating on that project and its timing. And then the pump station project is all within Division 1. Division 2, you have the Thoroughbred lift station. None in Division 3 right now. Division 4, we have district headquarters because there's always a little bit placeholder money in there. And then the McGee and Huntley and Gomez emergency generators. And then in Division 5, Live Oak Park Bridge, Waterline, and these are active. Yep. So the Live Oak Park Bridge. And then district-wide take maintenance. Again, all the ones you've already seen on the first slide. All right. So the San Luis Rey, this is just where we are. So even though this one is now, we're putting in a pin in it, this is where we were. We had the approved budget of $600,000. The amount expended and change orders to date 0. So we are working with the finance department right now. We are collecting final invoices from all consultants who worked on that project, and that'll be paid out. And then the remaining money is dispersed elsewhere. The water system monitoring program is underway. They're about 95% complete. Again, no change orders. And we haven't received a bill in a while, so we'll have to follow up on that one and make sure that.
Yeah, we're almost done. So
Okay.
we're just tying up.
There you go.
Is that the one where we had an outside outfit come in that had done work before and added like software and sensors and stuff to be able to look at all the tanks?
Yes, so they've been working with us for some time, and then We wanted to do the project as a whole to upgrade all of our PLCs, radios, and networking devices. So yes,
Okay.
This is all done by Freedom Automation, correct?
Freedom Automation. Yes.
The Camino del Rey waterline relocation. So we're, again, both agency staff are working together on this project. It was Jake is reading everything. And so he's like, I think you're missing quite a few zeros on this project. And so we explained, the district, has been coordinating with its general counsel for about 3 or 4 years on this one. It's our position that we have prior rights out there and that this will be a county funded CIP project. So that's why that dollar amount's only 25. It's just to cover staff and legal time. How that actually rolls out when the county's done, we'll see there. But that's that project. And they don't have a timeline for it yet. Finally got a good project, at least of the Live Oak Park Bridge. Last time, I think we just were like looking straight down at a hole. It didn't show anything. So here you can see the 16-inch water line completed. 8 inches going on the other side. That's currently underway. Again, when I say that this project is complete, this is just Rainbow's portion. The county and all their project, that's a completely separate entity and they're doing their work. So, but ours will be done in the next couple of weeks. The generator project. So again, this was partially funded by the Cal OES Community Power Resilient Grant funding. And this was done via a change order to the LS1 project with Fowler. So their electrical sub, Southern Electric, is doing this. So these, I mean, the generators alone had extraordinarily long lead times. Parts to get them up and running continued to just be an ongoing thing, but it's going, and there you can see them both at their sites. The electrical panel switches. So project complete, about 20% complete. No change orders today. And again, very low expenditure. This is one that kind of, it kept getting tossed around. We were going to go, we designed it, then we weren't going to go. And so again, we're working on this on the mid-year budget as well. So we have full design on this. We just need to execute this one.
I forgot the location of this.
That specific site. This is going to be we have 4 more sites to go, I believe.
We have 3 more sites.
3 more sites to go.
This was the first one that we did. This is at the Lookout Mountain Pump Station. This helps us prevent the electricians from actually having to wire the generators directly on the bus, which is not safe for them.
Big safety project.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very, very human safe.
And so
Yeah.
what staff wants to do on this one is bundle the remaining sites as one project. Let one electrical.
Who's
contractor-
doing the work now?
Right now, there is no work being done right now.
Design is finished
Yes,
for all 4 locations?
the 3 remaining, yes.
What?
Yes,
Yes,
there's 3. I said 4, Ahmed, correct me, only 3.
there are 3 locations that we're doing this.
Yes. Yep. Okay, again, the GERD to West Lilac. So there you can see that red line shows the alignment. So that pipeline is there. It's just abandoned in place. It's bulkheaded at 2 different locations. We worked with operations. It's already been almost a year since we tried. I feel like it was last winter. Time flies.
So would you use it as is or you will reline?
We
it?
would reline it. Unfortunately, it's been abandoned for so long. The camera did not make it very far at all. So this,
Oh.
when we started just kind of picking civil engineers' brains, are like, well, what do you have? Well, we don't know. We don't know exactly. So this would require some additional studies to see, but ideally, Bob, we would use what we have and line through.
Is there a machine you can put in there to like eat away the crud and then
There it,
that'll walk you through it?
Well, you can, maybe not. It's because of the distance. If it was sewer gravity and you
Go
could get
manual.
access points, yeah, you can clean it easily.
they go in there with almost like a spinning chain that does
Yeah.
that, but this is a very long span.
Yeah.
So this will be fun. If we end up, I'm looking forward to doing this one. We'll see if we do this one.
And since we are in the project planning phase at this point,
Correct.
are we checking all the boxes about environmental easement, work process, the various things that could come and bite us with a whoops? Are we making sure that
We are at the very, very early stages of planning right now. So yeah, but that list does exist and we're going through it.
Where I came from, this would be called a conceptual engineering phase, where we would basically scope obstacles, budget, all that.
That's exactly where we're at.
Okay.
That's exactly where this one's at.
So this will be covered under the programmatic, or will it require an add-on?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
My instinct is to say it would be covered, but because it's the San Luis Rey River, it might be an add-on. That's assuming we tried to do like an open trench. If we did a jack and bore operation and went under everything, then obviously the environmental is like nothing.
Yeah.
So it depends on what the best avenue is going to be. Or if we were able to get the pipe cleaned out and pull a liner through there again, you know, avoiding that open trench concept's going to keep us out of the environmental nightmare.
It's not only environmental, it's Caltrans crossing Highway 76. So as Robert said, the ideal is a jack and bore, and you are at both ends, out of Caltrans, out of the San Luis Rey, out of everyone's right of ways, and you just are underground the whole time.
Yeah.
That's the ideal. But we are, what did you call it? The conceptual engineering phase? That's where we are right now. So we just put some money aside to kill some brain cells on it.
What's the size of this pipe?
It's 16.
16.
I believe it's 16 inch.
16?
16.
And how many linear feet?
I don't know offhand.
Hundreds, thousands?
It says 2552. That's half a mile.
Yeah. Where does he see that? Where do you see that, Mig?
Right here.
Right there, isn't it?
He can see it large on his screen.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
See that, Nick?
2,552 feet.
There you go.
It's about half a mile.
It's a good ways.
2,500?
2,500, half mile. Yeah, it's a good ways.
How, if at all, does that have to harmonize with the development that's planned down there in the valley?
Ocean breeze.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Mhm.
It doesn't. This is more, once our pump stations are online and Robert and his team are flowing the water and seeing where it goes, this is a project that they may come back and go, yeah, we would really, this is a must-have project, or this is a nice-to-have, or we don't need this project.
Mhm.
So right now it's a placeholder. We have the money earmarked, and we're looking at it.
Half mile jack and bore, that's, woo, that's a,
not that. It's I've been involved in a lot like ones in that. Like underneath shopping centers and Highway 78 to the Carlsbad Mall. Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
keep going.
Next
Can
one.
you help yourself by just cutting it in the middle and shortening, making a two pipe?
No.
No.
No?
No, if you do like a jack and bore, like HDPE is my favorite. It's they fuse the pipe and they'll fuse out, 2,000 feet if they can string it out
They
that
will.
far. And then once they do their jack and bore, they just pull it right in there. And it's so flexible. It looks like a snake and then you just connect the ends. And you can go a long ways like that. I've got pictures of probably 2,000 feet strung out. Yep. And they just get a winch on the other side and they just pull it.
So this is the only one that does show the mid-year adjusted budget, even though it has not been approved by the board. It didn't have a budget. It just happened over the holiday.
So basically you've got
over
a
the-
hole 16 or 18 inches wide diameter
Mhm.
that you have bored through. And there's nothing supporting that hole to keep it from collapsing in on itself?
They use mud, they use clay, basically. They'll drill, called a horizontal directional drill. They'll go here, the mud's following it, so it keeps that hole open. Thing pops out on this side, they connect that pipe and pull it back, string it right back through the hole. I've not seen a half a mile one done, but I've seen several hundred feet done. It's a pretty cool process.
Okay, so this is the emergency roof repair. So this will be coming to, is this going to the February board, or when is?
Yeah, it'll take one last view for budget and finance next week. Numbers haven't changed.
Yeah.
And then officially to the board, probably even on consent calendar since it changes for February.
So this is the only one where I did show the mid-year adjusted. I'm knocking on wood that it's,
Who's the project manager on this one?
This is both Amanda and Malik, but mostly Amanda on this one. This was one that came up and it's kind of like draw straws on this one. But it's underway and I think it's coming with a 5-year warranty and they're going to come out once a year to inspect it and do it. So it's a good
I
product.
think it was actually 2 years on workmanship, 10 years on the
Okay,
product.
okay. Even better. And then
Hopefully we might have a solution before that's all over, huh?
Years from tomorrow.
no, it's getting better, Abed. It's getting better. And then again, the West Lilac, Rancho Amigos, and Dentro de Lomas. Again, we had the pre-construction meeting last week. Notice to proceed being issued today. So right now we're working with the contractor on schedule and submittals, already starting on the submittal review. So they have told us that they anticipate moving towards the end of this month. And they are very interested in that early finish bonus clause. So we're looking forward to this one. Again, the approved budget, 6 million. We're requesting some additional funds through the mid-year. And so we'll see how that goes. And then the Thoroughbred lift station. So it's no longer a hole in the ground. Now has a building with a nice wall around it. This is ongoing. Project completion, 85%. We were fortunate in this one that they were able to, as Robert said, continue working through all of this rain by hanging pipe on the Musa Bridge on this one. So work is ongoing through there. And then the new district headquarters. This was an old conceptual drawing showing where we currently sit, what it could look like with a little bit of reconfiguration, keeping the lower yard as is. There's talks about this, the lower yard, as Bob mentioned, to moving somewhere else. So that'll be something that the ad hoc committee dives into. All the department managers have already compiled all of their previous data going back to about 2019 with conceptual studies and how much space would you need in offices versus cubicles and training areas. So we'll have all that. So the ad hoc committee will have some, plus all of the mastercraft studies and helix and everything that's been done is now in one central storage area for that ad hoc committee to go to. So we're excited with this. That's why we're saying it's no longer 5 years from tomorrow. We'll get there. So this one, interesting. It doesn't have a project number like all the rest of the CIP projects. This is actually charged to the operating budget through a GL account, but it is, we consider a capital project. It's ongoing maintenance. And with this, Jake and I were just talking today, the stairs that you see, some of which were receive safety cages or security cages rather before you go up. All of them received standardized conduits. So they were all different how they were going. It's now all been standardized. And then you can see the fall protection at the top as well. So this is being done on all the different tanks that required it. Not all got the security cages, but it is ongoing and you can see its budget. No changes on this one because it was all done via amendments to the agreement. So we're working on this one, but
There's just one left, right?
one left to go.
And is this work being done by our in-house staff or are we using the contractor that we have for maintenance of all of our tanks? What's the name of
The
that?
latter. Their newest name is USG Water.
What was their name before?
Utility services,
What?
Suez,
Viola.
Viola.
They've had 4 different names in about 10 years.
Utility services or something like that. That's kind of their,
Yes, I think it was Utility Tank Services.
there you go, their original.
But then
That's what we get the bills under still.
they were bought by Suez, who was then bought by.
Suez was the name I remember.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then
Suez.
Suez was bought by Viola. And then they,
Because didn't we authorize money for this a while back?
Correct.
And
2020.
the idea was to upgrade all of our tanks to
Correct.
get all of our tanks safe.
Yep.
Right.
So that they're no longer, none of our tanks now require fall protection to climb up.
Good.
They all now have the steps and then they all have fall protection at the top. They all have the same conduits going up, which are not a part of the stairs and antenna masts. So it's very standardized.
Good.
By the way, they have been out cutting all of the brush around the Hutton tank.
Oh, okay.
Spent 4 or 5 days, crew of 4 guys, and they've got stuff that I've been there 12 years that was never cut.
Oh, there you go.
They did a pretty good job of
That's
getting
awesome.
everything out.
And that's probably Specialty Mowing Services doing that work.
Yeah, the guy said he was a subcontract.
Yeah.
Because the last time somebody was there, they had this fancy machine and he was driving it around.
Oh, remote control.
Yeah,
Yeah,
remote
Wow.
control machine that just ate up everything.
actually called a bush hog. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Is this
Yes.
Marty doing that?
Yeah. Any questions from the committee?
What about the one tank that's wandering down the hill?
Oh, come on, Steve, don't say that.
Yeah,
Morrow?
that,
The Moro tank. Yeah, so that is, we have partnered with Amanda, if you're online, if you could unmute yourself. I can't remember the geotech firm's name. I think it's Atlas.
That's correct. It's Atlas.
I got lucky.
They're good.
Atlas Geotech. We partnered with them, so they have installed inclinometers and we are measuring its
Okay, it's
movement.
Ongoing monitoring.
It's
Okay.
ongoing and we just extended the contract with them to continue the monitoring.
Good.
So yeah, we should have more data on that probably towards the end of this calendar year. Any questions?
I'm good. You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
great presentation, Chad. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you to the engineering team for putting it together.
And so list of agenda items for the next scheduled meeting. The next scheduled meeting would be in early March. Is that likely to be the workshop gig?
That will be the workshop and we will be hitting the 5-year CIP hard at that meeting. I think that'll be probably one of the only agenda items. We want to focus on that.
So during the scheduled time.
It'll actually be, I think we're gonna use either the budget and finance meeting time. That's the March,
Second Tuesday.
yeah, March 12th, I think it was, March 12th, 1 o'clock. We're looking either the 12th or the 19th of March for a joint meeting. That's the 2 dates so far. We'll obviously keep you posted on what that looks like.
Okay. And do we have any contracts or anything out for bid, anything like that, that it is likely to require committee action? Do you have any last minute consultant selections?
No, no, we do not. No, we do not. There might be, we have various water service installations and fire hydrants going on, but those as they come up, we bring those miscellaneous NOCs, but those are typically on consent. So nothing on the horizon.
All right, well, it is 5:02. We've completed the agenda. We'll adjourn this thing. QED, let's quit and eat dinner. Yahoo.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to attend.
Thanks, Meg.
Good. Glad you were here, Meg.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you guys had heard, but just a news data point out there. Tom Kennedy got appointed by the mayor of Escondido and the city council to be Escondido City's representative on the County Water Authority board.
Huh, well, that's good. Good for Tom.
He's going to continue his tormenting activity.
glutton for punishment.
Yeah, I went to the board meeting late last month and it was actually pretty nice. They had an agenda item on the regular board meeting honoring Tom and his 9 years of service on the board, gave him a little plaque and the whole shot. So it was nice. It was nice, yeah. And now he's going back.
I think he's addicted. Hey, you guys, have a great week.
Thanks, Meg.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. Really nice to meet you.